Hurricane Erick, a rapidly intensifying tropical cyclone, had grown into a formidable Category 4 storm by the early hours of the day, bringing with it not only torrential rains and destructive winds, but also a massive and life-threatening storm surge that would redefine the town's relationship with the sea. The day began deceptively calm. Tourists strolled along the beach, and surfers caught early waves at the famed Zicatila beach, despite red flags warning of dangerous conditions. Local fishermen, however, were already pulling their boats ashore, securing them with ropes and sandbags. By mid-morning, the skies darkened, and the first signs of Erick's fury began to manifest. The wind picked up, bending palm trees and sending debris skittering across the streets. Rain began to fall in sheets, and the ocean, once a shimmering blue, turned a menacing gray. By late afternoon, the storm surge arrived. Fueled by Erick's 145 miles per hour, 230 kilometers per hour, winds and low atmospheric pressure, the sea rose dramatically. Waves as high as 20 feet, 6 meters, crashed onto the shore, breaching the esplanade and flooding the beachfront. The surge pushed seawater deep into the town, inundating restaurants, shops, and homes along the coast. Wooden fishing boats, once safely secured, were tossed like toys into buildings and trees. The iconic beachfront disappeared beneath the churning waters, and the tide reached the interiors of several waterfront establishments. The surge was not a single wave, but a relentless, rising wall of water that advanced with terrifying speed. Streets became rivers, and cars were swept away. The town's drainage systems, never designed to handle such volume, failed almost immediately. Power lines snapped, plunging neighborhoods into darkness, and communication networks faltered, isolating residents from the outside world. Authorities had issued warnings the day before, and many residents had already evacuated to higher ground or taken shelter in designated emergency centers. Still, the speed and intensity of the surge caught many off guard. Emergency personnel, including members of the Mexican Army and civil protection units, braved the elements to rescue those trapped in flooded homes. In one dramatic rescue, a team of Marines used an inflatable raft to reach a family stranded on the roof of their house near the beach. Temporary shelters in schools and community centers quickly filled with evacuees. Volunteers distributed food, blankets, and medical supplies. Despite the chaos, the community's resilience shone through. Neighbors helped one another, forming human chains to cross flooded streets and sharing resources with those in need. The environmental toll was severe. Coastal erosion reshaped the shoreline, and mangrove forests near the mouth of the Calatepec River were damaged by saltwater intrusion. Marine life was disrupted, and several sea turtle nesting sites were washed away. The local fishing industry, a cornerstone of Puerto Escondido's economy, suffered significant losses as boats and equipment were destroyed. Tourism, another vital sector, was also hit hard. Hotels and hostels along the beach sustained heavy damage, and many visitors were forced to cut their vacations short. The town's iconic surf scene was put on hold as authorities closed beaches and declared the area a disaster zone. As the storm moved inland and the waters began to recede, the full extent of the damage became clear. Dozens of homes were destroyed, and hundreds more were damaged. Roads were blocked by debris and landslides, and access to clean water and electricity remained limited for days. The National Hurricane Center of the United States issued a hurricane warning along a roughly 300-mile stretch of coastline from Puerto Ángel in Oaxaca west to Acapulco, a resort city in Guerrero. More than 2,000 temporary shelters were set up across Guerrero, Oaxaca, and the nearby state of Chiapas, the Mexican government said in a statement as the storm approached. President Claudia Sheinbaum told people in Erick's path to stay indoors and urged those living near low-lying areas, rivers, and waterways to move to emergency shelters. On Wednesday, more than 100 residents in the Oaxaca community of Lagunas de Chacahua, mostly fishermen and tourism service workers, were sheltering in schools after being evacuated, said Cuperto Gutierrez, a meteorologist at Oaxaca's Risk Management Coordination Office. Erick also flooded the streets of Salina Cruz, a major seaport in Oaxaca, leaving cars stranded on Wednesday. The police in Oaxaca and Guerrero were assisting drivers and removing rocks and branches from roads. Ahead of the storm's arrival, some residents and store owners in Puerto Escondido boarded up windows and doors. Tourists were advised to stay in their hotels. Schools were also closed for a second straight day in parts of Oaxaca, said Emilio Montero Perez, the director of the Oaxaca State Institute of Public Education. Erick strengthened rapidly on Wednesday. Its winds were strong enough to hurl objects off the ground, knock over trees, break branches, and tear off roofs. The authorities said they were monitoring dams and rivers and warning people about flash flooding. Mexico's southern Pacific coast was hit badly in 2023 by Hurricane Otis, a Category 5 storm that killed more than 50 people after intensifying rapidly. It devastated Acapulco, sinking yachts and fishing boats and smashing hotels and homes. Erick is the fifth named storm to form in the eastern Pacific Ocean this year. The Pacific hurricane season, like the Atlantic one, runs through November 30th. Hurricane Erick has authorities in Oaxaca and Guerrero on high alert. A red alert, maximum danger, was issued Wednesday night in southwestern Oaxaca and southeastern Guerrero due to the imminent impact of the natural phenomenon, which is located just a few kilometers from the Mexican coast. At 9 p.m. Central Mexico time, the center of the hurricane was located 75 kilometers south of Puerto Escondido, Oaxaca, and 200 kilometers southeast of Punta Maldonado, Guerrero. It was packing sustained winds of 205 kilometers per hour, 125 miles per hour, with gusts to 250 kilometers per hour, 155 miles per hour, moving northwest at 15 kilometers per hour, 9 miles per hour. The eye of the hurricane was 28 kilometers, 17 miles per hour, in diameter. Extraordinary rainfall is expected in Oaxaca, more than 250 millimeters. Torrential rains in Guerrero and Chiapas, 150 to 250 millimeters, as well as wind gusts exceeding 220 kilometers per hour, 140 miles per hour, and waves of up to 8 meters, 26 feet, along the coasts of Oaxaca and Guerrero. Warnings of possible landslides, flooding, and overflows in low-lying areas are being issued. Authorities urge the public to follow civil protection recommendations and pay attention to official warnings. Meanwhile, the coastal city of Salina Cruz in the southern Mexican state of Oaxaca awoke to the ominous roar of wind and the relentless pounding of rain. By mid-morning, the city's drainage systems were overwhelmed. Streets turned into rivers as water surged through neighborhoods, carrying debris, uprooted trees, and even vehicles in its wake. The mountainous terrain surrounding Salina Cruz exacerbated the disaster. Torrents of rain triggered landslides that buried homes and blocked key highways, further complicating rescue efforts. Rivers such as the Rio Tehuantepec overflowed their banks, inundating farmland and displacing livestock. Power outages were widespread, and communication lines were severed in several districts, leaving many residents unable to call for help.
Ya valió, vámonos.